Hey, friends, welcome back to another episode of Breed Darling, the podcast. I am so happy that you're here listening or watching over here on YouTube. Our episode today is just such a good one. Today, I am bringing you a conversation I had with Samantha Redden. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Samantha, and then I'm going to tell you all about why I have a girl crush on her. So, Samantha Redden is a speaker, fitness professional, and the host of The Samantha Show, a podcast where she shares real, honest conversations about confidence, growth, and navigating life's in between seasons. Spoiler alert, that's a lot of what we're talking about today. She is a nationally recognized fitness instructor and Mrs. Ohio American 2024, and she has built her platform around empowering others to show up authentically and to step into their full potential. After building a successful career in the fitness industry and stepping into new chapters of business and life, she is passionate about helping others trust themselves, take action, and pursue what they truly want. I met Samantha at a networking event, and I have had the pleasure of seeing her speak on a variety of different stages to groups of women, big and small. And her energy is so infectious. Samantha is one of those people who has taken what life has handed to them and said, I'm going to make the most awesome lemonade from these lemons. I am going to figure out what is best for me and how I can turn that into an opportunity, how I can take this hard season, this hard thing, and learn from it, lean into it. And what I love about her is the honesty that she brings to these conversations. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. And the conversation we have on today's episode of the podcast is really all about a life in transition. Samantha is and was at the time of the recording of this episode in this space of what's next for me. I've been transitioning out of a full-time career in fitness. I have been building a business and working on keynote speaking opportunities and a book. I feel like something else is next. And she really lets us into what that looks like for her, how she's processing, and the ways that she is grieving what didn't pan out. And I think so many of us can relate to what that looks like and how that feels in our lives. And what I love about the timing of this is, Samantha gives us a peek into what it feels like to be in process, in transition. And now we're on the other side of that in real life, just a couple months later. And Samantha has shared over on her social media, so I'll let you go check it out. Just what her next chapter holds. And I'm so excited for her because when we're sitting in that in between, that liminal space of not yet, but we know something good is coming, it can be really easy to get discouraged. And that's okay, right? That makes sense. But to know and hope and believe that good is coming and to prepare yourself for it, I think is this new level of maturity, of unlocking hope, of believing in your own potential and what you bring to the table. So I just love the timing of this episode, what we're sharing, and just all the permission that Samantha gives us with what she shares today. You will hear us gab about the books that we love, fitness, therapies, self help. You name it. So there's something in here for everyone. And so I cannot wait to hear your reviews and your comments on this episode. So without further ado, here is my episode with Samantha. Samantha, welcome to the podcast. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to chat with you.
Yes, me too. I know we were chatting just a few minutes ago, and I was reflecting on the couple of times that I have had the privilege of hearing you speak at a conference, at a women's event, and have always walked away so encouraged. I know you've got an amazing story to share, and that's what leads you to stand on your platform and talk about the things that you talk about. So I'm excited to share that with our audience today.
Yeah, so I love sharing my story and certainly a lot of ups and even some downs. So,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm
yeah.
looking forward to talking about it.
Yeah. So when you normally talk about life up until this point,
Mhm.
What are the highlights, right? We are women of a certain age. We are approaching,
Sure.
right? The big 40. Have you crossed that
Yes.
finish line? I don't think you have.
I have not yet, I'll be
You're almost
39 this
there.
year, so we're
Okay.
we're creeping. Yeah,
We're
we're getting
creeping,
there.
we're creeping. Yeah, so at this point, we've lived some life, right? We've
Yep.
had some experiences under our belt. When you maybe sit down with a new friend, somebody that you've
Mhm.
never really shared your story with before, obviously, we're not going to start at the day we were born and, take us up to present day, but
Yeah.
how do you talk about your story up to today? What are kind of the highlights that you normally share, the things you've learned from?
Yeah. So I most always start, which feels like a given. I'm a mom. I have a 9-year-old little girl, and it's just the first thing that always comes to my mind that I know so many women are
Mm,
fortunate enough to relate to that this motherhood. And so I'm a mom, like a 9-year-old daughter. I
mhm.
have only one. I'm an only child too. I do usually
Yeah.
share that with people as well. They can make up their own mind about how I may be from there. But
Yes.
I'm an only child. I have only one child. We are kind of a one and done family unless, God
Mhm,
has other plans. Yeah, and I live with type 1 diabetes, which is a huge part of my
mhm,
story. So, I was
mhm.
diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at the age of 9, and we're doing our math here in years. So, about 30 years
30
I've lived with
years.
type 1
Wow.
diabetes. And it's been amazing to see the technology and how much has changed. And we're
Sure.
seeing more and more online now about cures for type 1 diabetes, which is just incredible to hear about. So, type 1 diabetes,
Mm,
big part of my life, but I always say that even though it's a part of me, it's not all of me. So I don't like to be
yeah.
known as the diabetes girl, though I will always be an advocate and I love connecting with newly diagnosed families or anyone who just needs
Mm,
a fellow T1D friend. So that's certainly a very big part of my journey and who I am and what has shaped
mhm,
me. Was a nationally recognized indoor cycling instructor with a national brand called Cycle Bar for about 7
yeah.
years. I was a senior master instructor, and that's a huge part of my story because that experience was taught me so much about growth and patience
Mm,
and hard work. That experience as well took me off of a very traditional career path to
mhm.
adjust to I was in like nonprofit fundraising, kind of doing the
Okay.
9 to 5. And when I decided I wanted to get into fitness, it was just such a U-turn to give up a salary job and the stable what is expected as an adult
Mhm.
life to
Yeah.
say, "Oh, I'm gonna go teach fitness classes because I wanna try to climb my way to the top of this brand."
Mm,
So that's a huge part of my story, is just being a senior master instructor with Cycle Bar. Another big part of my story is that after doing that for 7 years, the brand has declined and forced me out of
mm,
that industry and a career that I
okay.
absolutely loved and was very passionate about.
Mm,
And I'm still, I think, dealing with this was about 2 years ago, still kind of dealing with coming off of a job that I just loved so much and figuring out who I
yeah.
am, almost an identity loss and that
Sure.
experience and redefining myself. But at the same time, as the cycle bar journey was ending, I competed and won Mrs. Ohio American. So I got into pageants.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of my story. And really, I'm a dream chaser. I love following my passions. I want to do things that are fun. I
Yeah.
want to make the most of life. And that really is who I am as well. So those are for sure some of the big key things in my life that
Yeah.
I think make me who I am when I look at
Yeah.
past lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah, lifetime, really. I mean, don't
Yeah.
you feel like you've packed like 4 into the almost last 40 years? I mean, so many different paths, and I can absolutely relate to this idea of kind of departing from what was prescribed. I often talk with my clients about it almost like a template that was handed to
Mhm.
us. Like,
Yeah.
here's the stencil, trace, and you will have a successful life, right? That's kind
Yeah.
of what was handed to us. And for you, you walked away from this traditional schedule, this
Mhm.
path, right? Laid out for you. And I could see you being amazing at that, right? Like
Yeah.
fundraising, advocating for nonprofits, like being that face out in the community. Yeah, because you already do it for so many other causes that are close to your heart.
Yeah.
But what was the turning point there? Like, what was the pivot? I mean, you hear fitness instructors that they took one class and they were hooked, or, they had a natural gifting for it. Like, what had you make that pivot away from the path you were walking down and then moving into fitness and this very non traditional path?
Yeah. So actually, I was in nonprofit fundraising, and you say that it was like a template given to me. It really was. I
Mhm.
had moved
Mm.
back to Dayton, Ohio. I spent a very short time in St. Petersburg, Florida, met my husband
Mm.
down there, and then I was moving back to Ohio to be with him. And it was like, who do you know that can get you a job? And someone was like, I'm in non actually it was my mother-in-law was in nonprofit fundraising. And she's like, I know a ton of people in this industry. I can get you in like an entry level event planning job. And it was like, great, I need a job. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So I took it. And then I was like 5 to 7 years just kind of growing into it, into development manager. So, I mean,
Mm.
it literally was like what you said. It was like, I don't care what I just need a job. And this one fell on my
Mhm.
lap. And then, like, kind of once you're in the industry, you grow and you meet people and you get other opportunities. And so that's what I was doing. But I found myself getting very burnt out, like just doing big fundraising
Yeah.
events, asking people for money constantly when I realized in that role that everybody has something they're super passionate about. So it became harder
Mhm.
for me to say, oh no, our cause is the best cause. Give us money. And I just never
Yeah.
like, I didn't like trying to find the right donors, all that stuff. So I was getting really burnt out. I had always kind of enjoyed fitness, and I had had people in the past ask me about becoming an instructor, but I never felt like I, just to be completely transparent, had like the body of a fitness instructor, which was something that was
Mm.
like always in my head. So when people like, oh, you should teach and stuff, I'm like, I don't know. I just kind of take the classes. I'm not really like an instructor type. I don't know anything. But I was getting very burnt out in nonprofit, so much so that my dad is an accountant, CPA, and he owned a practice for a short period of time, and I was actually starting to maybe go that path to see if that was
Mhm.
better for me. I'm a very type A person. I love numbers, things that balance and clean. I was like,
Mhm.
maybe that's it. But while I was there, which was maybe a year or less, Cycle Bar had come to town as an indoor cycling.
Mm.
And I just kind of pursued checking that out. I actually asked them if they needed a studio manager because I just thought it
Okay.
would be a fun environment. I cheered growing up.
Mhm.
I felt like my career in the nonprofit world was kind of forcing me to push my personality down. I'm a very
Yeah.
loud person. I just want to be able to have a good time. And I
Yeah.
felt like I had to be
Mhm.
professional 24/7 in that job most of the time.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I saw this, like, space and opportunity to kinda flex a different muscle and give myself some freedom to be more authentic. So, I had
Mm.
pursued becoming a studio manager, and they didn't need one at the time, the local cycle bar in our area, but they said, "You should audition to be an instructor." And I struggled a lot still with
Yeah.
I don't really look like a fitness instructor. That was very
Mhm.
much in my head. I was like, "But let me give it a try." We had to ride to the beat, like, it was like a rhythm-based cycling.
Mhm.
I cheered growing up, I thought it would be no problem. I went and auditioned. I failed it so
Oh.
bad, like, I failed so bad. And I thought I did very, very well. And I was so hyped and I had so much fun at the audition and I thought I had crushed it that
Mhm.
when I got the message that I didn't pass, I was very defeated and I had a lot of
Mm.
that self-doubt I went into it with. Well, I know I
Sure.
don't look like a girl and all these things like came up. And then I just kind of had a moment where I was like, I know I can do this. And it was the first time in my life where I locked in on a goal so hard. I don't think I've ever
Yeah.
been more determined in my life, and I can't even express why maybe that happened. I think maybe it was myself proving to myself for the first time in my life
Sure.
that I'm capable of what I want to achieve. And
Mm.
so I wanted to go back and audition again. I was given that opportunity. But then I also was like very lit to go and climb my way to the very top and try to find
Yeah.
out who said no to my audition and
Come
just
on, yes.
I know, I was like, let me create my own transformation journey. I mean, it's the most bizarre
Mm.
thing, but I had this moment, like, when I didn't pass where I was like, "This is gonna be a thing for me. I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna audition
Yeah.
again, I'm gonna climb my way all the way to the top, and it's gonna be a
Mm.
story of my life and this thing that I do that not a lot of people do. And
Yeah.
it stayed that goal stayed there. And as I also pursued it, I just fell in love with rhythm
Mm.
cycling specifically and indoor cycling out of all the fitness modalities. It brought back the cheerleading, the space was loud and the vibes were
Yeah.
high. And
Yeah.
so it just started to snowball and just became this huge obsession, really, and I just
Yeah.
fell in love with it.
Yeah, yeah, man, I never had the privilege of taking one of your classes. I love to cycle, but I could absolutely just see you being incredible at that, and then, I
Thanks.
mean, it sounds like just as you were naming your story at the top, you describe facing obstacles or, like, forced pivots, really. I mean, when you're talking about, just the decline in cycle bar and it sounds like being let go and
Mhm.
just having to, like, 1, grieve the identity, the life that you had shaped and who you had became, which sounds like obviously grew in confidence and felt like your whole personality could shine. You could bring your whole self to the table. We love
Mhm.
spaces like that. But then you hit that wall and it's like, okay, life literally no longer looks the way I thought it would. And I worked so hard to get to this place. How did you I mean, obviously, a lot of the language we use is like push through, power through.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think we just like kind of slump into a ball and just let ourselves grieve for a little bit. I mean, what did that look like for you of pivoting away from this very niche space?
Yeah.
And you climbed that ladder and you proved somebody wrong. Come on, girl. I love it. I love to see it. But
Yeah.
you came to that and major disappointment and grief and who am I now that this is not a part of my story? What was next? How did you proceed?
Yeah. I definitely more slumped into the ball, I think, than anything else. I think externally, because I have built the reputation of being so positive and outgoing, and I'll be honest, I haven't talked to a lot of people about this. Now I might get emotional. Like, it's
Uh,
almost like the part of my story that I know will have its place when I do public speaking and stuff.
uh,
But I mean, it's been 2 years, and I wouldn't deny that I'm probably still very much in the thick of it. That's
sure.
what level of a loss it was. I
Mm,
think too, the hard thing is I actually actively made the decision to leave because I
okay.
saw the ship was sinking.
Mm,
And I think the other hard part too is what my cycle bar experience is no longer because the
okay.
company has declined so much. In
Mm,
some ways, it's nice. I'm not watching people do what I did with the
sure.
company. It's not happening anymore.
I
In some
gotcha.
ways, that's like, okay, I don't have FOMO. It's just not there anymore. And I don't
Yeah.
think people, if you haven't lost an identity or a job or a passion like that, can't
Hmm.
understand
Hmm.
what a loss it is. It's like a
Completely
loss
agree.
of self.
Yeah, absolutely.
And and who I had become. And,
Yeah.
it's been a lot of self-reflection, like, just because that chapter's over doesn't mean that it didn't exist and it's not still a part of
Yes.
who I am, but I think the hardest part has been when you have, like, a job or career that you absolutely love, no
Mm,
day is a dread. I had incredible
mm,
flexibility. I was traveling all over the country. I was
hmm,
connecting with thousands of instructors. I would be in Santa Monica, Miami, Bismarck,
mhm.
North Dakota, seeing
Yeah.
places in the country that I never would have been able to see, and then it
Mm,
all stops, and I'm, like,
yeah.
sitting at home, and I don't have a studio to teach. The studio I was teaching at ended up closing. We still have
Mm,
one at Austin Landing, but it just wasn't the right studio for me to teach at.
mhm.
So, I'm no longer teaching, I'm no longer traveling, I no longer have the income that I had. I've niched myself in a career for 7 years.
Mm,
I have a lot of skills sets when it comes to managing gyms, building teams, training instructors, all
mhm.
this stuff. But again, that is so niche. Like finding a full
Yeah.
time job in fitness is very difficult, one that pays
Mhm.
well enough. And being
Sure.
in the Midwest in Dayton, Ohio, maybe if I was in
Mhm.
LA, maybe if I was in New York City
Yeah.
or even
Yeah.
Chicago or something like that, a lot more opportunities. Not in Dayton. Like I can probably
Mhm.
name all our gyms on two
Yeah.
hands.
Yeah.
And so, it was really like, what do I
Mm,
do now? And that
mhm.
has been, I think, like from the outside, people see me do a lot of things. And I do a lot of things. And I kind of always have. But it's been
Mhm.
even crazier because I'm trying to find out what do I want to do? Like,
Yeah.
what do I seriously want to do going forward? And
Mhm.
I actually just recently, like within the last 2 months, have been looking for a full time job
Yeah.
because I have been trying to pursue entrepreneurship, trying to
Mhm.
pursue different little hobbies and projects and stuff, but it's just we were talking about how much effort it takes into
Mhm.
going to a podcast. The amount of work I'm doing for no return or very little is like,
Yes.
all
Mhm.
right, if I'm putting this many hours
Mhm.
in a week, I need to be making money. So I've
Right.
just now started to I heard a I heard some motivational video come up on Instagram that was like, to fully be ready to move forward, you have to be ready to make peace and settle with the past. And it
Yeah.
just kind of hit me. And I was like, Cycle bar is not coming back. I do
Yeah.
work in fitness, but it's as much as I love it, it doesn't do for
Mhm.
me what Cycle bar did.
Yeah.
I've tried these little things. I will continue to do them. I will continue to speak, continue to work on my book, all these things. But
Mhm.
it's like, let's work. Like, I'm ready to have one job or maybe just
Seriously,
two,
yes.
but
Maybe 2, but not 7, okay?
no, no, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Uh,
but it's hard. It's hard. I
Yeah.
think historically the last 2 years of my life have been the hardest years of my life, and I don't think
Mm.
people know it on the outside because I can hide it pretty well. My parents
Yeah.
know it. My husband knows it,
Yeah.
but, yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard. Hard.
Let me just say, with, like, so much empathy and compassion, like, thank you for sharing from that place because I intimately know how it feels to build your life and your identity around a dream, and then that rug get pulled out from under you, and it to have been your own choice, right? You
Yeah.
kinda pulled the rug out and to walk away and to curl up in the ball, and that was not a, negative thing. I
Yeah,
I mean, you
yeah,
know me, I'm a therapist, so I'm like,
yeah,
there is a place for our grief, there is a
yeah,
place to hold that, and it's
uh,
a necessary part of the process, I believe, because so much of the time we just skip over it. It doesn't feel good. So I don't really wanna do that. Let me just go and distract. Let me go and try to be resilient, which is a really beautiful concept, but I think so much of the time it's just focused on the bouncing back and not who I became in the process.
yeah.
It's like you'll never be the person pre-cycle bar again.
Uh-huh.
And the expectation, you know this, you're a mom. We don't bounce back postpartum. Our bodies are literally never the same
Right?
because we housed a whole human.
Whole
Okay.
human.
Okay. Hard stop. And we can't expect that of ourselves. So when it comes to going through something really hard, the grief is a natural progression from that because
Mhm.
we have to recognize who we were, who we became, and what we lost. And then
Mhm.
now I'm hearing 2 years later is the permission to
Yeah,
not even you've been rebuilding, right? You've
yeah,
been changing course and now you're just giving yourself permission to choose and say, yeah, I can continue to pursue these things over here. And
mhm.
I'm ready for a full-time challenge that I don't have to piece together. And I
Yes.
get that. I get that. A
Yeah.
little known part of our story, I say our because my husband, I roped him in with me, but we were actually missionaries in Mexico. And
Nice.
it's like very strange for me to even say those words out loud anymore because it feels like
Mm.
such a distant part of my story, even feels like that was me. I did that. Are you sure? And the way that things transpired, we were supposed to be there 3 years, we were barely there 2 because of some challenges in leadership and the way that things were being fleshed out, we just didn't agree, like, ethically, it didn't feel on par with what we understood would be happening, and we were given a choice of like, "Okay, you can move somewhere else within where the ministry works, or you can leave," and we were like, "I guess we're leaving."
Mhm.
I completely fell apart. I
Yeah.
mean, anyone who and that was almost 10 years ago. So, so much empathy. 10 years in, I'm still in this like
Yeah.
when a string gets pulled on excuse me, on that part of my heart,
Yeah.
I just yeah, you're just taken right back
Yeah.
to, oh my god. And this was an identity I'd built my life around since I was 14.
Yeah.
And then it's just gone. And you're like, how do I relate to those parts of my story? How do I accept, as you named, that this doesn't exist anymore? This thing I'm grieving, it's like when I walk women through divorce and they're grieving what a marriage was before, or the
Mhm.
job loss, career change, etc. And it's just heavy and hard. And there's, I mean, the only way out is through.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and I think you also made such a good point about giving yourself that permission to grieve, which was
Mm.
hard for me at first. I mean, the initial shock, I had a lot of emotional outbursts, but then it was like right after
Mm.
that was the Mrs. Ohio America pageant. Right after
Wow.
that, I had spent a summer working at Dayton History, Carillon Park, and doing a nonprofit car show just to step in and help them
Mhm.
that summer. And it was like, boom, big thing, boom, big thing.
Mhm.
And it wasn't until like there was no next big thing that
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, I still hurt really bad." And I had
Mm.
almost a bigger falling apart, like, almost
Yep.
a year after it had
Yeah.
ended because then it got quiet, and to your point, I had to feel it for the first time,
Yeah.
truly. Um, but feeling
Mhm.
it for maybe the past year has also brought me to kind of where I am now, kind of ready to
Mhm.
move forward, and I remember there was maybe 4 months ago or so, I'd had a really big breakdown of, like, missing it,
Mm.
and then I kind of
Mm.
was like, "Okay,
Mhm.
that was it." Like, that was the
Yeah.
last not that I still won't get emotional, but that was, like, the last big I mean, I allowed myself just to lay face down on the couch, get it
Yep.
all out as hard as I could cry, and then I kind of was like,
Okay.
"It's time to move
It's
on."
time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I again just am so grateful for your vulnerability because you're
Mm,
right. Outside looking in, it looks like this girl's got it together. She is like doing the most and doing it well. And I don't doubt that you're
yeah,
doing all of those things really well.
yeah,
A lot of times it's just like, do I want to be doing all of those
yeah,
things? What's the cost to me? Am I ready to maybe let things be a little simpler for a while?
yes.
I don't, it just really depends on you and your values, your priorities. I mean, that's part of what I walk women through in therapy too, is just like you have to define your own version of success. And
Mhm.
it more than likely isn't what the next person thinks or whatever template they traced to build their life on, right? It's
Yeah,
what's next for you, what feels good for your family. I know,
yeah,
as women who both have daughters, there's also this, I think, this weight, this responsibility of like, man, I want to show her what's possible, but I also want to show her she doesn't have to break herself in half to get it,
mhm,
right?
yeah,
And it's all just this moment. It's like the what we see on social media a lot right now of like, I'm just a girl. Okay. I'm just a girl.
right,
I mean, I'm 38, but I'm just a girl. Okay.
right. Exactly,
Yeah. And
exactly.
and that grace to be figuring it out, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
1,000%.
Well, I'm excited for what's next for you, whatever that may be. I mean, you wear a lot of hats right now, and
Yeah.
from fitness to speaker and host, and you're a powerful speaker. I've heard you, and you've definitely
Thank
got a
you.
message to share, particularly around confidence and building women up in that regard.
Yeah, that's been really fun now that I'm on the job hunt more seriously, to
Hmm.
take what I learned in Cycle Bar, to take what I know I'm worth, to take all these little pieces like,
Hmm.
okay, yeah, I did niche myself in the fitness industry, but how does that show up maybe in a marketing and social media role? Or how does that show up in
Hmm.
an operational leadership role? Or how do those things which are absolutely translatable if you sit down or say, specifically what is this skill? Okay, I can lead teams, I can train people, I can
Hmm.
connect with them, I can provide feedback in a way that is supportive and encouraging. I'm extremely organized and all these things. And really, to your point of like speaking about confidence, what I'm learning now is that these things that I have done and achieved have really built on that confidence. And I was even talking to my
Hmm.
mom the other day, the way I am applying for jobs with standards and requirements
Hmm.
now versus when I did back the first time I got into the nonprofit world, it was like, okay, I'll take
Yeah.
whatever for whatever. I don't even know,
Yes.
give me a job. It's like, no, now I have bullet points and I know it's out
Hmm.
there and it's very realistic on salary, on what I'm looking for, on
Hmm.
what work life balance is in ways that I think really are totally able to be met. But that confidence that I've built through the journey has now what I'm realizing made me very excited for what is coming
Hmm.
next my next career because I know what I'm worth. I'm excited to get with a company that appreciates it and
Yeah.
bring all my skill sets to the table and really apply it in a new arena.
That's so
exciting. And I mean, it sounds like you've got an idea of like where you want to head. And like you said, you're walking in with that confidence. And I think a lot of women really struggle to do that. Again, it's this idea of permission. And I always say, like you don't actually need me to give you permission, but like I'm gonna offer it. If you need to hear it, like you have the permission to know what you're worth, right? You have the permission to walk into the interview confidently. So many of us are taught, conditioned, even harmed into believing that like we have to be small, that like small in physique, small in personality, small in just how we talk, right? Like you and I think are similar in like we can take up the room, right?
Yep.
Like we got big personalities and can be loud. And I think that there's this real hesitation for a lot of women to take up space in every manner of speaking.
Yeah.
How do you feel like these last several years have kind of doubled down on that for you? Like, I'm going to be exactly who I am. No apologies.
For me, I think this is really where my cycle bar journey taught me so much of what I'm worth. And,
Mm,
you know, had to be, and this is what I talk a lot about in when I do give my speeches, is this idea of just knowing that you're worth it, that
mm,
you do have life experiences. I'll say it when I talk about creating like your list of things
mm.
that you've achieved. Being a mom counts. Like that
Yeah,
in itself, like knowing that you can grow a whole human in your body
come on.
and keep moving on and keep moving forward, like that counts. You should have confidence
Mhm.
because you've gone through that. If I've been reflecting a lot, and I think age has a lot to do with
Sure,
it,
sure.
but I've also started to, I don't want to say care less about what people think, but I'm a big believer that you have to love and believe in yourself before you take in the opinions of anyone else about who you are. And so
Hmm.
for me, walking into a space and feeling confident and feeling like I learned in my cycle bar journey how to be authentic. That was such a huge piece. I never
Mm,
again want to push myself down the way I did pre-cycle bar. So it is important for me to be in a space where I feel like I can bring myself or I'm going to, and people will either
mhm.
accept it or they won't. And if they don't, then I will know that is not the space for me.
Yeah.
So, I think anytime it comes to just like using my voice, I know what I've been through. You asked, give me the highlights of your life at the
Mhm.
beginning of this call. I think every woman should sit down and do that. What moments of your life have shaped you? What
Yeah,
has taught you? Being type 1 diabetic has taught me so much and has given me
yeah.
so much confidence. If I can act as my own pancreas every single day I mean, we think
Truly.
of hundreds of things constantly that nobody has to even think about. I mean, I'm thinking about
Mm,
what's going to happen to my blood sugar when I take a shower, if I decide to take a
mm.
walk around the park, if I'm going to leave my house, do I have sugar on me? Is my blood sugar good to drive? Like all these things that you don't have to think about.
Yeah.
But these little moments in my life, again, looking back on the big things, shape me to who I am. I know what I'm bringing to the table. I also know
Mm,
what maybe I'm not bringing to the table. And sometimes when you know what you're lacking, that can actually help you in your confidence because you can either clearly speak to that or you can be humble enough to receive feedback in a new environment.
mm,
So you don't have to be afraid or intimidated. You can say, I'm here to learn. And that in itself is
mm.
such a confident move to be humble and say, don't know that, but I
Yeah,
bet you can teach me and I'm excited to learn
yeah,
from you. And just
yeah,
being very open and receptive in that way too just helps boost that confidence. So, um
yeah.
kind of a combination of all the things, really.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's important that we notice in your story and my story, gosh, any woman I've spoken to, there's no real formula. Like I
That's right.
think we have this belief that they got it right. So if I can somehow just follow their formula, you and I both know this, right? Being on the internet in the way that we are, almost like someone trying to sell you their hack, right,
Yeah.
for the
Right.
algorithm or
Yeah.
whatever, and it's like, "Well, this is how I did it, and this is how I got success," and it's like,
Mhm.
there are so many independent variables
Right.
that are going to lead to the life that you're building and the career that's next for you. There's no formula for success, like, you're building it on your own, but what you are saying is, "I'm gonna take what I've been through. I'm going to learn from that. I'm going to continue to be open to learning. I'm going to not allow my hardships to define me in the way that they keep me from living. Like they keep
Mhm,
me from going to what's next. I
mhm,
mean, you could have hung up all things fitness after
mhm,
Cycle Bar and just been
mhm.
like, okay, well, that like took something out of me and took something from me and I'll never get it back. So I'm just going to like let that go. But you're like, no, this is still very much a passion of mine. And you're letting it continue to be a part of your story. And that's not nothing. I
Yeah,
think more people need permission to just accept, okay, I've been through something really hard and I can move forward in a new way
yeah,
with confidence, with clarity. And sometimes that clarity doesn't come for a long time. 2 years, that's a long time
yeah,
to then be like, okay, I think I have an idea of what's like next.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
Mm,
it's helped too, and I just wanna, like, touch on it, I think too, looking at, like because we've kinda talked about grief and going through
yeah.
things, one thing that I've started is working on my book,
I
and
wanted to ask about that
yes,
girl. Come on.
yes, and that has been, I think, so therapeutic because even though that experience is not coming back, I've been
Mm,
able to hold on to it in my own way, and
yeah.
writing about it has been emotional, but it's been
Mm,
very is cathartic the right word? Like, it's been very,
yeah.
like, supportive, and it's been like, I get to relive these memories, and I'm in the very early 2017 to 2018
Okay.
days as far as my
Hmm.
writing's going, and I am laughing, I'm texting my
Mm,
friends being like, "I can't wait to
yeah.
describe you in this book," and, like, will it
Yeah.
be a bestseller? I don't know, but what I'm
Mm,
realizing now is, like, when I was like, "I'm gonna write a book, everybody's gonna read it." Now what I'm realizing, like, I'm writing this book for myself, and it's been so
yes.
helpful to be like, I
Yes.
did live this, and it was fun, and it's okay
Mm,
that I'm on the other side of it, and I'm gonna keep all these memories with me in this capacity, and so that's been very helpful too in this grief and moving on
mhm.
is like, I'm keeping it in its own way with me.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like you described what so many of my favorite authors have shared about their own writing process,
Mhm.
where we write to like get big, and I'm sure that that's been successful for a lot of people, but like the words that I read that affect me the most are the person who said, I'm going to write what I needed to hear at the
Yeah.
time, right? I'm going to write for me to get
Mhm.
it out on paper. And if that supports somebody, then wonderful. One of my best friends is working on a book, and she's a very gifted writer, very poetic. And sometimes that imposter syndrome will get in there, like, what if nobody reads it? What if nobody buys it? And it's like, well, if one person reads it and sees themselves in it, right, and
Mhm.
feels encouraged, or like I said, even just seen, right, because there's
Mhm.
so much beauty and feeling like represented, like your experience isn't isolated to just you. I think there's going to be something there for whoever reads it. Is it taking shape as more of a memoir, or do you have an
Yeah.
idea of where it's headed?
Yeah, 1,000%. It is absolutely a memoir. And it was
Mhm,
originally going to be, I was like, I kind of wanted it to be this roadmap with some like self help points and like,
mhm,
what's the lesson from this chapter and how can you apply it to your journey. But as I've started to writing, it's been more fun for me to just relive the experience with as much detail as I can. And that
mm,
is the high emotions and the low emotions, and again, to
mm,
talk about the people I met who are my very real friends and to get to
yeah,
write their personality and my first impression of them. So
mm,
it was originally gonna be kind of more of a teaching memoir, but now it's definitely just become more of a memoir story of really
mm,
what would be 2017 through 2019. So only really
mhm,
2 years. But it's
mhm,
been very exciting because I feel like there is this now that I'm in it, because right now it's the story of going from a non-passing audition to a master instructor role,
okay.
and that's gonna be the timeline in the story, but I'm already like, as soon as I became a master instructor, COVID hit. And so I've been thinking
Oh,
I could do
okay.
this cliffhanger, like at the end, like got the
Mm,
goal. And then
yeah,
there was a moment with me and all these instructors out in California after I'd gotten promoted. We're driving
mm,
home and someone's like, "Did you hear about this new virus that's coming from China?" And it was like, then it all stopped for me as soon as I got the job. So
Wow.
I'm like, is there a part two? Like, is there, and then
Yeah.
is there a third book when it all ends and I'm on the journey? So
Wow.
it's just been fun to think about the possibilities. And again, write it from my experience and let the reader
Mm,
take it and apply it in whatever way they see
yeah.
or need, or if it's just entertainment or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, but it's
Yeah.
definitely full blown memoir.
Yeah, you kind of talking through that process had me reflecting on, periods of our lives that really stand out, right?
Mhm.
Like I asked you, what are the highlights? Not necessarily meaning what are the best parts of your story,
Yeah.
right? But like you use the language of like what has shaped you? What have you
Mhm.
walked through that has shaped you? And I think that we have this tendency when we look back on our lives to see those moments as all good or all hard.
Mhm.
And what you're doing, it sounds like, is really holding space for a lot of nuance, right?
Mhm.
Like, you may look back on 2017 as like, "Oh, I'm so awful. I can't believe I didn't, like, pass. I
Uh-huh.
didn't get chosen," to the, like, becoming master, "Oh my god, that's the peak. I can't you
Yeah.
cannot even go up from here." But acknowledging that there's so much gray space in between of,
Yes.
like, it's not
Yeah.
necessarily black or white, it's somewhere in this messy middle.
Yeah.
I can imagine that was really therapeutic of
Yeah.
acknowledging it wasn't all good or bad.
Right.
It was even at the height of what I had worked toward, it was still really hard,
Yeah.
or there was still challenges, people who didn't think that I should be at that
Mhm.
point or what have you, you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I can absolutely understand why this has felt really meaningful for you
Yeah.
because, yeah, again, it's just bringing that nuance of,
Yeah.
no, it really wasn't all terrible or all wonderful. It was somewhere in between, which is just what life usually is,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
1,000%. And I think you really hit the nail on the head of what I am expecting and anticipating that book will feel like. And to that
Mm,
point, being relatable to so many people of that in between space. Between
mhm.
it's like, oh, you were a master instructor. You just did it. And it's like,
Yeah.
no, I cried a lot. I
Yeah.
worked really hard. I laughed a lot. I made some great friends. I made a fool of myself many times. So it's like all those things that we do go through in
Mhm.
journeys and in life and experience. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's been fun.
I'm excited to maybe get my hands on it at some
It's been
point.
slow though, Emily. It's been slow.
Yeah. Do you have, like, a
Yes.
timeline in mind? Like
No, I didn't want to put the pressure on myself for that
sure.
because I have so many things going on. But
Mhm.
I believe I'm around 15,000 words, and 10,000 was a big milestone for me.
Yeah.
I think I'm about 5 or 6 chapters in, 5 maybe. And
Yeah.
so, I'm just kind of pacing myself. I
Mm.
came out guns blazing, and then I was like, "Oh," and what I'm finding too, I do not write, okay? And so this is very new to me. But what I am finding is, and I've like Googling, like, is this normal? But it's like,
Mm.
I had my first chapter, second chapter, but then my voice changed a little bit in 3 and 4 when I found my writing style. And I was like,
Okay.
oh no, I got to go back and rewrite chapter 1 and 2, which
Uh,
I haven't done yet, but I'm
mhm.
realizing that it is a process. Like, it's going to be so many
Yes.
steps. So, really, what I'm trying to do now is like when the inspiration or moment hits me, I sit
Mm.
down, I can write some words, messy or not, but get words on paper and then we'll go
Mhm.
from there. But it was really fun mapping it out. I went to just to talk a little bit about that process. So I
Yeah,
post a
please.
lot on social media, as you know, and
Mhm.
I posted a lot. I've always posted a lot on social media. So I have so much in my
Yeah.
archives on Instagram, specifically in my
True.
stories. So I went
Yeah.
all the way back to when it all started, like July of 2017 on my
Okay.
Instagram, and just spent like a day going through almost every story and being like, "Oh, yes," and getting the timeline exactly right. And I had this huge
Yes.
piece of paper, like when we used to make
Mhm.
like a timeline graph and marked the
Yes.
years and the months. And I was like, okay, this was the month here, this was the month here, all these things.
Wow.
And then go back and fill in the gaps and be like, okay, these are really like the big moments in the story that things
Mhm.
happened and shaped, and being like, okay, these need to be key points in the book and building
Mhm.
it out from there. So that in itself, even before I
Yeah.
started writing, was so much fun to just again
Mm.
go back and relive it all, even on social media, and be like, oh, I forgot about that day or that moment. And that was an important one. So
Yeah.
that was so much fun too, even before
Yeah.
starting
What
to
an
put words to
interesting use of social media for like research
right?
essentially for your
Yeah,
book. Like you said, you've got these archives of stories and posts and being able to look back.
yeah,
I mean, I think that the real beauty of posting really
yeah,
frequently is like you have a
it's there.
timeline of your life and you're drawing on that. That's really cool.
Yeah,
My husband is a writer. He works in, like, content
that's
marketing,
right.
creation, etcetera, but he it's like the craft is, like, what he loves, right, of writing, and he always quotes Anne Lamott. I'm not sure if you're familiar with her. She's a writer. She wrote the book Bird by Bird.
Okay.
Definitely check it out. You'll probably really relate to it at this point in your writing journey, but she talks about writing shitty first drafts. She's like, "Just get it out." Like,
Yeah,
get it out. And she talks about, like, ass in chair. She's like, "Put your butt in the chair, just write the crappiest version of it, just get it out, and then
yeah,
go back and clean it up." And
yeah,
so, it sounds like you're in this place of, like, finding your groove, finding your voice, and it's like, it'll get worked out. But I'm so excited for you because,
yeah.
again, it's been very therapeutic and healing for you to walk
Mhm.
yourself back through it, and what you're gonna hand anybody who wants to listen or read it
Oh,
is I'm just so excited for you. It's gonna
yeah,
be really
thank
cool.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to have the first draft finished by the end of the year.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll see.
Well,
I don't
it
know.
sounds like, you do have these, like, really clear bookends of
I
time,
do.
right? Like
Yeah.
2017 to 2019, so that sounds like that maybe is gonna hold you accountable in a big
Yeah.
way.
It is
Yeah.
nice having a very strong timeline, at least knowing the parts that I need to hit on and where I'm at in the story have been very helpful. It's just sometimes sitting down and feeling creative enough to build a
Mhm.
scene and the words and
Mhm.
all those things, but
Yeah. Yeah, so many of those details, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and you even mentioned, like, mentioning other people in the book and that kind
Yeah.
of thing, like, "Here's how I'm gonna talk about you, is that okay?" You know?
Sure,
And other
some names are
people.
changed. Some names are changed for the low
Mm.
points of the story or the
Uh-huh.
people who maybe
Uh-huh.
didn't believe in me that I just not
Yeah.
interested in
Yeah.
reaching out for permission or anything. It's like, we'll just
Uh-huh.
change that person's name and,
Yeah. And
you
well,
know.
in real time, right, we're seeing that example. We've all read the memoir that's like, "Some names and, details have been
Yep.
changed." And you're like, "Got it." That's a nod and a wink to something else was
Yeah.
happening here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You strike me as such a high energy, high functioning person,
Mhm, mhm,
which is incredible. And like you said, sometimes can be even like a mask for like how I'm really feeling. But
mhm.
given who you are in public, what is something people may be surprised to learn about you?
Let's
And that's
see.
not to say that who you are in public isn't authentic. I truly believe
Yeah.
it to be,
Yeah.
but just something people would be
Yeah.
surprised.
I think people may be surprised that I'm actually a very, I don't want to say loner, but like kind of independent person. I like to
Mm,
move and operate on my own. I love being
mhm,
at home by myself. I will go to the movies by myself. I would
mm,
actually prefer to go to the gym by myself. I don't want to go with friends.
yeah.
I
Mm,
have taken myself out to dinner. I have been on a solo vacation to Scottsdale by myself. So,
amazing.
as someone who is very outgoing, connects, I love just being me. I
Yeah.
actually spend a lot of time seated on my couch, in which I feel like people are like, "When do you stop?" I'm like, "I don't know, but I do sit on my couch." There's a
Do.
dent where I sit, so I am sitting. So I think
Yeah.
people would be surprised to know that I actually, I forget what maybe it's called, but I get very overstimulated actually very fast, and I need
Yeah.
less of people
Uh-huh.
and more of by
Uh-huh.
myself time. I think people would be pretty
Yeah.
surprised to know.
I agree. I think I'm surprised. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to hear that about you, but I'm also not surprised at the same time because I think
Yeah.
that that says you're in tune with yourself enough to recognize, like, even the most high functioning, people-y kind of person needs time to rest and recharge
Mhm.
and restore. I mean, even the most extroverted among us needs to, like,
Uh-huh.
exhale for a minute. And
Yeah.
so I think that that's really interesting to know because you do appear again outside looking
Mhm.
in on the go.
Yeah.
Girl, you're teaching classes, you're modeling, you're speaking, you're doing so much and
Yeah.
it's so encouraging, but
Yeah.
I think the reminder too that you slow down and you take your time and that's how you are
Absolutely.
able to like kind of sustain this as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
a big, fan of fiction books, so I love to read
Oh,
fiction books. I am very anti actually, which is funny with, like, when I thought that I wanted to do self-help because I'm actually very anti self-help. I will like a
okay.
memoir if it's the story, but reading is really my way to mentally disconnect from, like, what do I need to do? What's next? And I can be
Mm,
in a quiet space because sometimes even, like, TV I do like TV shows, but being able to read in a quiet space because I'm always loud around music or I'm at the Dragons game or
mm,
like all these
mhm,
things where like the
mhm.
quiet space, even when I'm at home now, like I've been home for a lot of today, I don't have the TV on, I don't have music on. I may do something on my computer for fun or do a little like dot puzzle or something, but also just read fiction and kind of mentally
Yeah.
escape from tasks
Yeah.
that I
Yes.
need to do.
Yes.
So,
Yes. And I think that is the kind of the Achilles heel of the high functioning woman, especially,
mhm,
is living and dying by the to-do list.
mhm,
And the word of our podcast today has been permission and just giving yourself a lot of permission to like go offline,
yeah.
literally and figuratively, right? What do you like to read? What's been your latest favorite of
So
fiction?
I have been in a big coming of age genre.
Yeah.
So I love
Yeah.
stories almost always of women who, their life, usually from childhood to
Mm,
adulthood. I love the Kristen Hanna books, but actually right
girl,
now, it's the best. They're the best.
she's so good.
So
She's
good.
so good.
So good. But actually right now I am rereading. This is the only time I've ever reread a book. I am rereading The Silent Patient. Have you
Oh,
and I'm so bad with authors' names. I should know more. But I read it. It's a
I
male
care.
author too, which I thought was interesting, just the different voices and the way they write. But I I read it several years ago, many years ago, and I have always claimed it was my favorite book of all time. But it
Get
has been
out.
so many years since
Okay.
I've read it. I was like, let me see if it's still my favorite book of all time. But now I
Mhm.
know the ending, so it's been interesting to reread it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
going back through and rereading
Okay.
that Silent Patient, which I think is still my favorite book, but I'll know for sure when I get to it.
Dang. I do not do a lot of, like, thriller
Yeah,
or even that one, like, it
yeah,
borders because it's not like it's
right.
scary, but it's intense.
It's kinda creepy too. I read it sometimes in the
Yes.
dark at night. I'm like, "Ooh, the vibes are creepy."
Yes. I read it for a book club I'm in,
Yeah,
and it was yeah, I wouldn't have probably picked it up on my own because 'cause I'm a big baby, but
yeah.
I thought it was really fascinating, and they're making a movie. I'm, like, very excited.
Oh, I did not know that. That would be good.
I believe it's Anne Hathaway who plays
Okay.
her,
Oh,
which is,
cool.
like,
Perfect.
chef's
Yeah,
kiss.
that'll be
But
perfect.
Kristen Hanna is my girl. I love her stuff. I just
Amazing.
read The Women,
Yes,
the one about oh, boy,
in the Vietnam.
I'm still
Yeah, I
thinking
went on
about
a
it.
big Vietnam hole after that book because I was like, "Now I
Yes.
need to know everything about that war."
No, seriously, and I feel like I left school with, like, very little historical knowledge. I'm sure it was not my teacher's problem, it was me, but I was, like, learning so much. I was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
know all this was happening." It's
Even her
fascinating.
other one, which I'm looking at, The Nightingale, that sent me on a World War II binge of,
Yes,
like,
agreed,
documentaries and stuff.
agreed. Did you read The Great Alone?
Yes!
That the Alaska one?
Yeah. So good.
I
That
cannot.
was amazing.
I love her so much, she's so great. Yep,
Yeah, I totally agree.
yep,
So all those books like that, I have since I started working on my memoir,
mhm.
tried to be more intentional about reading memoirs, and I started reading
Okay.
Educated. I don't know if you've heard of
Oh,
that.
yeah. Mhm,
So
mhm.
I only got so far. I was reading Educated. I was reading Michelle Obama's book, and I'm like halfway
Yeah.
through. It was like the first time I've been juggling like three books at once. I don't
Yeah.
typically do that, but I wanted to hear the voices and those 2 different memoirs to see what that
Yeah.
storytelling looks like, and they're very different, which has been
Yeah.
interesting too. So, yeah, a lot of this coming of age type stuff is very interesting to me.
Mhm.
I used to do a lot of the whodunit, murders, creepy
Yeah,
stuff, and sometimes
yeah.
I can, like, bite one off, but I do typically read in, like, pitch black in the middle of the night, and, like,
Oh,
even with my husband
so
near, it gives
no.
me the creeps. So I'm like, I wonder if I would like to hear about you yeah, like, picking berries in the farm and how hard that
It's
was
so
for your
true.
fingers and all that stuff.
My gosh, it's so true. I'm a big fan of a celebrity memoir. Like, I'm
Okay.
very, like I don't, like, worship at the idol of, like, pop culture, and I
Yeah,
very rarely know what's going on in that world, but
same.
I find it really fascinating to learn the backstory of these people who are in the spotlight. And some of them, that's exactly what they wanted. And some they were like, well, that happened and I'm not really sure how. But learning their backstories is always really fascinating to me because at the end of the day, they're just people, right?
It humanizes them. Yeah.
Exactly. And I have to say, Viola Davis's memoir, absolutely gutting, but so beautiful. And
Ooh,
she
okay.
like listen and a prerequisite is that I'm gonna do audiobook and it has to be them reading it. And her reading it, I mean, just amazing.
Okay.
Amazing. Yeah,
I'll get
highly
that.
recommend.
Yeah.
Highly recommend. Yeah, yeah. I'm
But
sure Michelle Obama reads her own too, but
I
just
have
great.
never once listened to a book on tape, audio book.
Okay.
Never once.
Okay.
I
I get it.
don't know why. I don't know why. I think because if I'm listening to something, it's almost always music. It always has been. So it's
Mm,
very hard for me in the car. I'll even try to turn on a podcast. Like I have to
yeah.
be intentional and I just can't because
Mhm.
I always go to music.
Yeah.
And so books are my way again when it's like quiet and I'm picking it up
To
and like,
sit and like, yeah.
yeah,
I will say anything that's not a memoir, I can't listen. Like if it's multiple characters, like different voices, forget it. Like I can't
yeah,
do it.
yeah,
Even like self-help books, right? Was like working in the therapy space. I really don't read a lot of them, but like I'll try and listen.
yeah,
Spotify can get like free listening and I'll try to listen, but it just loses me. For some
yeah.
reason, the memoir keeps me
I
engaged.
love
But
it.
I'm like you. I want to hold it in my hands and
Yeah,
enjoy it. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm just so grateful for our conversation today. And, the whole premise of this podcast, right? It's called Breathe, Darling. And the whole idea is that we're all going to face hardship. And where can we find opportunities to breathe, to connect, to ground ourselves? And ideally, this podcast gives people an opportunity just to breathe a little bit easier. But I'm curious, Samantha, what's helping you breathe a little easier these days?
You know what? It is my faith, and I say faith in myself that
Mm,
it will it's gonna all work out. And it
mm,
does. And even in the hardest moments, like, life keeps going. So for me, some of the hardest moments, it's like I still want
mm.
to enjoy this life that I have on earth, whatever
Yeah.
that looks like. And sometimes it just looks like a venti iced latte from Starbucks.
Come on.
It's what helps me breathing is the simple things in life
Mm,
and
mm,
permission, like we said, to feel what I need to feel in the moment, to
mm,
breathe, and then move on
mm.
when I'm ready and just kind of keep
Yeah.
moving through life because time heals and, it gets better. I know it from my own experience in the heaviest, darkest days. The next day
Mm,
is sunny or the next
mhm.
sunny. So, really it's just the faith that I have that even through hard times, good times are coming too.
Yeah. Well, I'm so grateful for everything you've shared with us today and just your vulnerability. I mean, it's no small thing to show up and be like, I'm actually in a time of transition and I'm not sure what's next.
I know I felt
I'm
that.
giving, no, I love, are you
You're like,
kidding
"Oh,
me?
talk about, like, how you're so passionate about everything." I was like, "Well, I'm about to throw it all down away and get
I,
in a steady career." So,
I kind of love it. And maybe we can do a part two when you
yeah,
find yourself on the other side of like what's
we'll see how that
next.
goes.
So
Yeah, I'll be like,
I love
"Actually,
it.
we're going back."
Actually, never mind. Never
I
mind. I
know,
can't
screw
work
it
for
up.
anybody. I'm going
No,
to keep working for
yeah,
myself.
yeah,
I love
yeah,
it. I
so we
love
will
it.
see.
I hope that you loved listening to that episode as much as we loved recording it, because honestly, we just had the best time chatting and getting to know each other. To be honest, since I had that interview with Samantha, I have full on fangirled. I have stalked her to where she was teaching. I am now a member of that gym. She's just the best. And I'm so excited for what her next chapter brings. Even if that means that she stepped away from the gym that I joined and from just a group of people who love and adore her. It's what's best for her. And it really speaks to what I do and value as a therapist, which is helping women and supporting them in building lives that they are proud of. Not what other people are proud of, not other people's definition of success, but her own, your own, my own, to live a life that we're proud of. So, so excited for Samantha and just so grateful for this conversation where she lets us in on that middle part, the messy middle. Um, and so excited that we were able to see just kind of that next chapter starting for her. So I highly encourage you go over and follow Samantha. She is just a ball of encouragement and delight, and she's got a new puppy that is just cute as a boot. I can't even stand it. In the meantime, jump on over and leave us a review. follow, like, subscribe on all the things YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Instagram, and leave us a review. We'd love to know what you thought about this episode or past episodes or just the podcast in general. And in doing so, you're also helping us to spread the message of Breathe, Darling, which is really just having these conversations that help us breathe a little easier. So, in the meantime, friends, between now and our next episode, feel free to go back and listen to what we've posted before. But most importantly, I hope that you breathe easy. Take care.